We are going to be creating the passenger base. This is going to help us with some geometry we may not be familiar with, specifically this star shape in here. So again, I'm going to adjust the screen so that I can see my dimensions, see all the stuff that's going on, as well as work in Inventor at the same time. So I'm going to fix that up and go ahead and open a new part so I can sketch. And I'm going to start my new 2D sketch. I'm going to push this in a little bit so I have some more room to work with. Start a new 2D sketch, and I'm actually going to be sketching on the XZ plane this time because what I'm sketching would fit into the car in a way that would be face down. It's going to be a better thing for me to go ahead and just sketch on the XZ plane there. So the first thing I'm going to do is recognize that this outside shape is a rectangle with rounded edges. So I will go ahead and create a rectangle, and I will, again, just like I normally do, go ahead and create that rectangle starting on the origin point. I can go ahead and add some overall dimensions here of 1.975 and 1.59 on this outside edge. And I can take notice that down here in my sketch it's pointing to this round, it's 0.2, radius of 0.2. Even though it doesn't have the R there, it's not going to give me a diameter of an incomplete circle. So I'll go ahead and come up to my fillet tool and put in 0.2, and I'm going to select my edges that connect to the corner. And that's going to let me use this fillet tool in sketch mode, and I can go ahead and exit out of it when I'm done. So I have this base piece here. I'm going to go ahead and finish that sketch, and I'm going to extrude that out. If I were to scoot over to this other picture here, it tells me the depth of this part is 0.3, or in this case, because I'm sketching it this way, it would be my height. So I'm going to go ahead and extrude that out 0.3. and hit OK. So now I have a base that I'm working with. I am not going to shell this yet until I have my little shape cutouts because I want those to be included in my shell as well. So if I shell it now and then cut those out, they would not be included in the shell. So I'm going to leave those alone for now. And now I'm going to come back and start a new 2D sketch on the top face of this. And this is where I'm going to be sketching my shapes. So we will start with the easy ones. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start with this circle. And I'm going to go ahead and just draw this circle right here. And we'll go ahead and dimension this circle. So the first dimension I'll add is the size of the circle. It tells me is 0.58. And then it wants me to place this circle. So the tough thing about this circle is that it's showing me dimensions from the edge. And if I go in here and go to dimension and I click on the edge and go out here, it doesn't want to give me that. Okay, it doesn't want to give me to the edge. It wants to give me from the center on. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to give it what it wants. And I'm going to put 0.5 in here, the 0.05 that it's showing me the distance between the two should be. And then I'm going to say plus, and in parentheses I'm going to say 0.58 divided by 2. That's a radius. And I'm going to hit enter, and it'll do that math for me and figure that out. So the next one I'll constrain is from the circle to this other edge out here, and I will be doing the same thing. It tells me it's 0.2. Well, I'm just going ahead and I'm going to add my radius, that 0.58 divided by 2, and let it just calculate that addition for me because I know it'll do it right, and I might not if I put it in the calculator. Okay, so I can go ahead and lock that circle down. Again, down here it says I'm fully constrained. Just for the sake of being able to seeing progress, I'm going to go ahead and finish that sketch and extrude that. And I'm going to change my extents to all. Oops, sorry, all. And I'm going to go to cut extrude, and I'm going to cut extrude that circle out. So I'm going to go ahead and have that. I'm going to start a new 2D sketch again. The next one I'm going to do is the square, which is a rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the square out. Alright, because I know it's a square, I can go in my constraints and use the equals tool and go ahead and set these two sides equal to each other. So now I know it's going to stay a square. And then I can go ahead and start adding my dimensions. So I can add my side length, which is 0.58. I can add my distance between this edge and the outer edge here. If I would click on it, there we go, which is 0.2, and this edge and this top edge here, which is just like the circle of 0.05. Okay, so I have my square, again, fully constrained. I'm going to go ahead and finish the sketch and cut extrude again through all, and now I have my square. Okay, so I'm going to start another 2D sketch on that same plane, and I'm going to go ahead and do the triangle first. A couple of different ways that you can do the triangle. The easy way to make sure you're going to get a regular polygon, which means all the sides are equal, is to go down here to polygon, change your sides to 3, draw my polygon in here and hit done, and I know that this is going to be equal polygon, okay, because this polygon tool creates regular polygons. Okay, then I can go ahead again to my constraints, and I can set a vertical constraint on, oops, I can set a, in this case I think it's supposed to be horizontal, yeah. So it's horizontal only because of the plane that I'm working on. So long story short, I'm setting this line so it's straight up and down is my goal. Okay, I can go ahead and dimension my triangle. It gives me a side length. It tells me between this point and the edge, it gives me that distance of 0.2, and it also gives me the distance between this edge here, or that point there, and this edge down here, which is 0.05, similar to the shapes up top here. And that's all the dimensions I have on that. I'm fully constrained. I'll finish and cut extrude again through all. Alright, and then the last challenge I have is my star. Okay, so you'll notice with this star section that I do have dotted lines in here. Those dotted lines are shapes that were created when in construction mode. Okay, so in Inventor, I'm going to go ahead and turn construction mode on. And the first thing I'm going to create is this outside circle that it's got going on. So I'm going to create this circle here, right? I'm going to notice that I have a circumscribed polygon here with 5 sides. Okay, so I can go ahead and go back to my polygons tool, change this side length to 5. I'll select the same center as my circle, okay, and I will go ahead and let it lock this bottom point straight down. Okay, and that adds some things to this that I don't have to go back and add those constraints. It automatically puts those in for me, and I can go ahead and turn construction mode off now. So I'm going to dimension my construction lines here. So what I'll start with is that from my circle here, my diameter of my circle should be 0.605. Okay, which is actually a different length than this circle up here, so keep that in mind, that you're not snapping anything there. It does again give me from the edge to this outside edge of the part, but if I were to go in here and kind of zoom in, it does look like it's actually referencing not the edge of it's not referencing the edge of the circle. It's actually referencing this point. That's actually a shared point of the star and the polygon. So what I'll do with that dimension is I'll actually select the point on the polygon and use that to dimension the 0.2 out from the edge instead of trying to use the circle, because they are actually different dimensions. And then that same thing for the bottom point here, they are using the bottom point of the polygon to the bottom edge of the part, 0.05, to lock that down. Similarly to check, it's actually giving you this extra dimension here to make sure that everything's lining up. So this point here to that line should be 0.488. Okay, and that's actually a dimension that repeats itself. So once that's fine. It's now fully constrained. Right here it says again fully constrained. So we have something that we can base our star off of. Okay. So when we create this star, we're going to be using the line tool, and I'm going to zoom in here to my polygons that I've got. And I'm going to go ahead and start with an edge that I know. So all of my points of my star are coming out to points on this polygon that I've drawn. So I'm going to go ahead and start with one of those. And what I'm actually going to be doing is I'm going to let it find the center point of those lines from the polygon, and I'm going to pull them straight out at 90 degrees. And you can kind of see, at least I hope you can see, that once I get to a certain point, it draws the next line for me. It's also going to show me that 0.187 dimension, which if I look back over in my drawing over here, it tells me that that side length should be 0.187. Okay, so the program will help you lock this stuff down. So I'm going to start drawing this line in here, and when it starts connecting things, you have to kind of be careful about where your lines are coming down at. So I'm going to zoom in one more so it stops snapping so much. And it's when I get that 90 degrees that I really want to go ahead and put my point down. And I'll do the same thing. Actually, you know what I'll do is I'm going to give you a little bit of extra here. I'm going to go back into construction mode, and I'm going to draw a line straight through here really fast. And I'm actually going to do the mirror tool really quick, because that will make our lives a little easier. We're going to draw one more line in here. This line here we will draw in after we come out of construction mode. Then we'll draw the line in. Okay, so I'm going to draw that line in there, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my mirror tool, and I'm going to select these lines that I want, and I'm going to pick a mirror line, and I'm going to apply, and I'm going to get the rest of that star. Okay, so now that I have this star in here, I'm going to go ahead and add the dimensions that it's showing me. So it's telling me that this should be 0.187. So I'm going to go ahead and lock that down as 0.187. And since I know this star should have equal sides, I can go ahead and use the equal constraint to set the rest of my side lengths. And now that I'm all locked down, I can finish sketch. I can cut extrude through all, and I have a star. The last thing that I'll do, I'm going to go over here to this reference picture, and it's telling me that there's a shell thickness of 0.01. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip this part over a little bit. I'm going to go to shell. I'm going to choose to shell all that out, pick 0.01, and I'll notice that it's going to shell around my pieces here. So now I have somewhere for the little people that go in my car to fit. And that's all for Passenger Base.